Hey guys, watch out and welcome to our next episode in this series. My name is Drew Pizzulo. I will be your host tonight. I am co-hosted here with my lovely girl Reese's, who is my daughter. And say hi Reese's to everybody. She is getting big from the first time you saw her. And she is going to help me introduce to you the difference between regular watches and regulators. Now you may ask yourself, what is a regulator? That's a great question. You see, what you're used to is not how watches first started in history. The first thing that was actually invented, as you well know, were clocks back in the 1500s. And what they had to do is a lot different than what you see these days. This is what you would normally see today. It is still your typical watch design. Here is an example for you. This is an Enicar, date. And as you can see, on the wheel, you see one wheel and it shows the seconds, the minutes, and the hours rotating on one wheel. So that has been the standard for quite some time. But if we go back several hundred years, what they used to do is they didn't have the technology to put it all on one wheel. What they would do is separate the wheels into their own separate space. Thank you, darling. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so what you have is one wheel for the seconds, one wheel for the minutes, and one wheel for the hours. What would that look like in a watch? Well, let me show you. Oris actually did their best to replicate what it used to look like in their BC3 diver's watch. And here it is right here. So this is the BC3 regulator. And hopefully I can get a pretty clear picture in there for you. Okay, so you can see right now the three different dials. Okay, on your left-hand side you have the seconds. On your right you have the hours. And then on the big wheel, which is your normal wheel hand on your everyday watch, you would have the minutes. So that is what a regulator looks like. It kind of looks like a chronograph movement, but it all makes sense. And chronographs, a lot of people don't know exactly what the chronograph stands for. So this actually tells you each wheel has its own unique function that makes sense. Without any one of these, it doesn't complete the picture. Of course, you have the date as well. And what Oris tried to do is give you a unique throwback example of how clocks were originally made. And they used to have chimes, and people used to pull them like you would see on a grandfather clock or a grandmother clock, and they used to be a lot bigger. So, and that's how they would wind them up, and that's how they would tell time. Now, of course, Oris has applied modern-day technology to the yesteryear look of the regulator. So this is automatic. It's got their own Salida movement, 689 caliber, as you can see as well. It is a diver's watch, so it does have great luminescence in the dark. And as you can imagine, this is a 40 millimeter. It is water resistant up to 20 ATM, which is your standard typical diver's watch in terms of water resistance. And what's good about a lot of diver's watches is they do have the unique features on the clasp. So they do have the adjustable clasps, as you can see here, with your typical push pin levers. So you can make it smaller or larger. And they even have it on the a secondary clasp over here as well, so you can further adjust it for comfort, which is a really nice feature. The BC3 regulator does have push pins. They are not screw down, so you can get them out with your standard watch tool. If you do want to regulate the watch faster or slower, that same watch opener can regulate the watch as well. And here you are. Well, I'm going to show you the back of this as well so you can see. And that's your standard. Just fit it in there, adjust the size, and unscrew it. Get a screwdriver, regulate your time, and there you go. Voila, you're all set to go. So, it does have a sapphire crystal and your screw-down crown as any diver's watch would. It is my personal favorite diver's watch in my collection for uniqueness and paying homage to how watches did start. As you can tell from Reese's movements, it's probably hers too. You like that? No? Okay. Oh, God, she always gets inside the ear. Never understood that. So, anyhow, we're going to work this episode a little bit differently tonight than we normally would. Okay, I'm going to need a shower. And we're going to actually, there are two friends of mine who actually have this watch as well. It's actually discontinued now, but it is pretty rare in terms of regulators. You really don't see them too much. A couple German brands do have a couple of different regulation designs. Oris is the main leader when it comes to regulators. So my theory was I wanted to test them out because obviously they've had regular watches before, and I wanted to see if they knew what a regulator was and how it was different for them as opposed to a regular watch, such as this one with your one dial, okay, where everything's on one wheel, as opposed to everything divided up into 3 wheels. So let's go take a look from Chris and Dave, who have both owned the watch and have tested it out, to give us an overview and a better idea of a watch review, because they are the ones that have been wearing it. Because obviously I'm going to tell you it's great. I endorse the brand along with several other brands, as you can see here from my wonderful shirt. But I want you to go and meet the average everyday Joe and tell you what they think and if it's worthwhile over a regular diver's watch. And that will lead into our next episode in April, where I will be back with Jared and we will go over the best diver's watches on the market and the different features that they offer. Okay, so as you can see, Reese's is getting very restless right now, so I'm going to go right to Chris and Dave and see what they think about the watch. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Okay, hey guys, we're at Hooters in Wayne, New Jersey, and I'm actually here with the two guys I was telling you about last night, and they are Dave and Chris, and they are wearing the Oris Regulator Diver's Watch tonight, so they can actually tell you for themselves what they think of the watch. I gave you the overall specs of it last night. Let's check in with them to see what they think of this particular model. Dave?
Hey everyone. I love this watch. I think it's spectacular. I think it has a lot of the functionalities that I love, and I love the design.
You've had it for how long?
I've had it for, I'd say, over a year. It's a little over a year.
How is the accuracy on it?
The accuracy is very good. I would say plus or minus a few seconds a day. Not bad at all.
You've taken it in the shower, you've taken it, what kind of places have you taken it over that past year?
I've taken it in the shower for sure and underwater, and it's very good. It holds up very well. So.
What's your favorite? Do you find it easier or harder to tell time on a regulator as opposed to a regular watch?
I find it easier to tell time on this type
on the regulator?
Regulator, yes.
Why is that?
Just because it has a lot of different functionalities that I like. The date, it has a chronograph and everything else that I find fascinating. So.
Now you brought that underwater, right?
I have brought that underwater, yes.
Have you noticed any difference in time after you brought it under salt water?
Haven't noticed any difference.
And you said you got a lot of compliments on it at work, correct?
I have a lot of people at work and even other folks I run encountered with say that they love the design, they love the chronograph, they love the different functionalities of the watch, and especially the color, and get a lot of good compliments about it.
So do you like that, or would you like a regular diver's watch better?
I think I would like this better.
More unique for the uniqueness
it's
factor?
More unique. It has, based on the functionalities and the uniqueness, I definitely think that this would be a better
good everyday piece?
It's a very good everyday piece, yeah.
That sucker can take a beating, I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. Most definitely can.
Bring it over to Chris. Chris has now tested this watch for about 2 weeks, and before this, he only knew of the old Oris back in the 70s and 80s, which were a lot like, Rado back in the 70s and 80s. Very basic, wind up. Some of them were automatic, but he was basically knew of the basic models of Oris back then. It's changed a lot since then. What have you noticed about this watch compared to the other Oris that you have from the 70s and 80s?
It weighs a little bit more. It keeps running. You don't have to wind it as much. It's 27 joules, so you're going to get a much longer run on this model as opposed to models from the 70s up into the 90s. You're going to pay a lot more for this particular model. But, some people might be worth it. It's a good watch. At first it weighed a little bit too much, but you adjust to it and you get used to it. And it's a really good watch. And it tells time differently, as Drew and Dave were talking about. You get used to that after a while too. And you just look at your watch and you kind of look at time a little different. But all in all, it's a great watch. And I've been happy with it for my 1 week test. So no complaints here.
And where have you taken it? Have you taken it in the shower? What have you done with it within that week?
I've not taken it in the shower yet. I've washed my hands with it, and it's pretty good. But I'm sure it would do fine. Dave attested, that it does just fine in the shower.
Is there any reference of getting used to telling time differently on a regulator as opposed to a regular watch?
Is there any? Sorry.
Does it take you time to?
No. The first day or two, it's a little awkward, but like I said, you just look at time a little differently. That's all.
Is it pretty cool seeing how a regulator tells time? This is how clocks were originally telling time. They had them on 3 wheels. They didn't have them on 1 wheel, where the seconds, minutes, and hour hands were not on 1 wheel. They were all on separate different wheels. So this is how clocks were originally made. That's how the regulator came to be. So they're just giving you a throwback to how clocks were originally made. Do you find that uniqueness part of it cool in a regulator as opposed to a regular watch?
It's nice that the watch company actually brought it back, because I was looking online and I didn't really find any other watch companies that did this. I mean, I'm sure there are out there, but they're pretty rare, I would imagine. So I thought it was definitely cool, and it's kind of like a retro throwback watch. So it's definitely different, but I've enjoyed it. So it's been accurate. I'd say I've had it for a week, and I would say it's been accurate. It's only lost about 1 minute in an entire week.
That's not too bad at all. And to figure that, have you had any allergic reaction to it?
Surprisingly, I thought for sure I would, because I'm allergic to the nickel and the titanium, but so far no allergic reactions.
Because it is a specialized type of steel that is used in divers' watches, and I didn't think you'd have any problems wearing because he's featuring the rubber band, because this comes in 2 different ways. As you can see from Dave's over here, it comes in the metal strap, as I showed you mine in the intro, and it comes in the rubber strap over here from Chris. So it comes in 2 different ways, and because of Chris's allergic reaction that he's had to other watches, I figured the rubber strap would work out a lot better for him. So, all right, cool. Well, thanks guys for giving me an overall aspect of what the diver's watch is, and that's pretty much it for here. Stay tuned next month as we will go over all the diver's watches that are hot on the market. We'll be back with Jared and we'll get to go over his new piece, which is the Manta, and how it compares to all the other diver's watches out there. So, thanks for joining me, and thanks for joining us on this episode of Watch Out.